Every magician needs to know how to cut to the four aces, and you're about to learn how. I'm going to ask you to cut the deck by just kind of dropping some cards off the bottom in that kind of fashion, if you would be so kind. So you're going to cut a few cards off the bottom. Nicely done. Okay, that's looking good, and maybe we'll distribute the cards. I want these nice even piles. Now you cut the cards? Excellent. Let's see how you did. If we take these two here, looks like we have two aces. And we take these two here, looks like we have two aces. And I don't know if you know it, but must be some kind of magician. I don't know quite how you did that, but that was very impressive. All you're doing is taking an ordinary deck of cards, and on top you've placed the four aces. And that's all the setup that you need. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut the cards off the bottom, just like that. So there'll be one pile here, 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 and here. Now at this point, because you have the four aces on the top, and this is the last pile, this is actually original top, and the four aces are here. So that's the way you're supposed to be. Now, what you do is you act like you're being very picky about this whole thing. And you say, well, let's just kind of even the piles out. So you can kind of even them out this way. Now, it doesn't matter what you do with these three. But what you're doing over here, because you have your four aces, what you do is you take two off the top, and then you place them on the second pile here. Just acting like you're evening things up. But all you're doing is you just make sure you take two from your two of the aces and place it on the second pile. At this point, you have two aces here, and you have two aces here. Now you're ready for the display. Everything's all set up. Now, it's a little bit of an odd display, but what I do is it really throws people off. To display the cards, now you can just go like this, but then it wouldn't look right because you still have these two aces here, and it'll look like they all came from the same place, which they did. So here's the thing that throws people off. You cross your hands. You don't have to give any explanation why you're doing this odd thing, but you just cross your hands like you're being fancy, grab the top cards, and then you turn them over and show them to be the aces. At this point, the spectators are reacting that they're aces. And then what you do is uncross and then place it on these two piles. So it came from here, and then the aces went to here. So just like this and here. So I'll show that to you again. So cross, turn, place them on here on 1 and 3. Then you can turn these two over and show there's two more aces. If you want to be consistent, you can turn these over and do something like that, or just turn them over. But at this point, you're clean. You show the four aces, and then spectators will probably accuse you of using some kind of trick deck, and you can have them examine the entire deck, and there's nothing to find. And you have cut to the four aces in a very flashy manner. We're gonna test out your card playing instincts, all right? So what I'm gonna have you do in just a moment, we're just gonna take some cards and cut it into four piles, kind of like that. So here, let me just give it a quick cut here. And if you would, just grab the deck and make four piles off the bottom. So drop a few off the bottom, that's good. The bottom, off the bottom, excellent, excellent. Now here's what I want you to do. We'll start with this pile and go this way. You're gonna go 1, 2, 3 cards to mix it, and then go 1, 2, 3 on the other pile. So this one now, take that one please, put 3 on the bottom, and then 1 on each of the other piles. And put it back there. Perfect. And this one. I'm gonna count. You're just mixing the cards up in kind of a random way, and then 1 on each pile. And put that one there, and this one. 3 and 1 on each of the other piles. Okay, now you actually cut the cards. You actually mixed the cards. So let's just see if there may have been any magic that happened here. Sometimes coincidences happen. So there's an ace of diamonds, that's pretty good. Over here we have an ace of spades. Over here, ace of hearts and ace of clubs. And that is cutting to 4 aces. Nicely done. Good, well done, well done. And of course everybody wants to see the rest of the deck. And yes, it is a ordinary deck. You can do this either way. You can do the cutting, or you can have the spectator do the cutting. And I think it's stronger when the spectator does the cutting. However, the spectator has to know how to handle cards, otherwise they're going to mess up the sequence. So let me go through the sequence, show you the setup. In the beginning, you have your ordinary deck, but at the top you have your 4 aces. That's all the setup you need. So, when you cut the cards, see, you go across and have them cut it like this, but you always track where the 4 aces end up. And I know, because I cut them, that the 4 aces are over here. So what I typically do is I ask them to just take a little off the bottom, little off the bottom, little off the bottom, just like that. And the 4 aces are over here. You just have to track. They can cut them a little more randomly, but you just have to know where the 4 aces are. Now you go through what you call a mixing sequence, but all you're doing is just setting up the trick. So you tell them, usually I take the first pile and just show them how to do that. They're going to take 3 cards, place it on the bottom of their pile, 1, 2, 3, and then they deal 1 card onto each of the other packs. Just like that. They do it with the second one. Remember, the pile that has the aces in it, which is this one in this case, is always the last one to do this. They take the next pile, they go 1, 2, 3, then they deal onto each of the other piles, 1, 2, 3. Same with this one. Now you can have the spectator do this. They do have to know how to handle cards though. 2, 3, deal on the other ones. Now, let's just stop for a moment. I'll explain where we are in the process. What you've done is you still have your 4 aces on top, and you have your 3 indifferent cards from the other packs on top of that. So now we're going to deal do the same thing we did with the other piles. We're going to deal a card on the bottom, 1, 2, 3. Now these are the ones we don't care about that came from the other packs. And now we have the 4 aces on top. So now you just deal 1, 2, 3, and then it leaves 1 on the top. And even though you emphasize that the spectators did all the cutting, you could even emphasize they did all the mixing with a random process or a seemingly random process. But when you turn over the cards on top, they'll turn out to be the aces, and that is cutting to the aces.